you just give me a minute to get things in order, we can get down to business. There you go. In the meantime, I'm just gonna have a bit of a recap and have a look at a few stories that I've been particularly interested in the news of late. Just have to do one or two things first. Right, bear with me here. Yes, that makes a bit more sense. So, there's been a lot going on in the news, as per usual. And there's a few channels that I'm a fan of following. I think what I'd like to do now is, as a sort of a prelude to hopefully our guest today, I'm gonna play a bit of an interview I saw on YouTube, and it was I'll tell you in a minute, the Cliff Yates show, and he was interviewing Nicky Billou, who is going to be our scheduled guest for today. And there was some very interesting thoughts being expressed. So I'll just let that run for the moment while I get the show together. And thank you for bearing with me. Okay, let's get some sound on that.
My mission based on what you're saying today. I really believe that. You
take it from the start.
This is the Cliff Yates Show. Personal growth, motivation, inspiration, and philosophies for a great life.
Everybody, welcome to the Cliff Yates Show. I got a great guest on today. 2 times New York Times bestseller. He is founder and creator of eCircleAcademy.com, coaching corporations, people, and he's having a positive impact on people through what he does every day, and that's why he's here on the show. And so we're going to learn a lot. I'm glad he's with us. Nicky Billou, thanks for joining me, my brother.
Cliff, thanks for having me on the show, man. Honored to be here.
Fantastic. Listen, man, it said you've been on over 600 shows. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Man, well, hey, you're my kind of person, a high achiever who's driven to do things because it's fulfilling. So tell me about eCircle Academy.
Well, great question. Before I do that, let me tell you a little bit about my backstory.
Please.
I'm originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. When I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place in Iran. And my late father, God rest his soul, he and my mother could see the writing on the wall. This wasn't going to be a place to raise a Christian family. So they got together, they thought through a plan, and they executed it. And eventually they got us out of Iran, and we settled where I now live in Toronto, Canada. Now, at the time, I was a kid. I was 11. I didn't want to leave my home. I didn't want to leave my friends. But in retrospect, it was the single greatest thing my mom and dad could have done for me and my brothers. They took us from a legacy of tyranny and they brought us to a legacy of freedom. And I believe inside every human breast beats the living heart of freedom. We all want the ability to go out there and chart our own path, to march to the tune of our own drummer. And today, in 2024, there are dark forces around the world that are looking to take away people's freedoms. And I say this to you, first and foremost, be a champion for freedom. Stand up for your own freedom. Stand up for the freedom of other people. Because if one of us isn't free, none of us are free. That's the facts. That's the truth. And my father was also a champion for freedom. He was an entrepreneur. He believed in human beings. He'd tell me from the time I was a kid, son, life isn't about money. Life is about people. He said, son, business isn't about money. Business is about people. And I was a smart aleck. I said, Dad, what are you talking about? Of course, business is about money. Without money, there's no business. He said, that's true, son. but without people, there's no need to do business. Imagine a Venn diagram. In the first circle, it's people. In the second circle, it says problems. And in the third circle, it says profit. And where all three intersect is a little space that says purpose. The purpose of business is to solve acute problems for awesome people at an amazing profit. That's all it is. I learned this from my late father, and I got into business. I wanted to be a man like him. Cliff, if you'd have known my dad, you would have loved him. My dad, if he knew you and you were looking for work, would sit you down in his office, call all his entrepreneur buddies, browbeat them until one of them gave you a job.
And
if you were trying to start a business, he'd sit down with you. He'd help you think it through, get access to capital, even get a few clients till you got it going.
The funny thing is, a lot of what he's speaking about are things I've thought of and considered myself. And I'm actually quite surprised how many similar thoughts I've had to some of the points he's expressing. And there's more of that to come. If we actually get him on the show, it's going to be very interesting speaking to him in person. But in the meantime, I'll let this interview run. Very interesting.
And if he was a friend of yours and you were looking to buy a car or a house and the bank wouldn't give you quite enough, he'd top you up with a loan that he'd never let you pay back. And you might go to yourself, what? That's not real, man. That's like a dude from a movie story. No, man, it is real. Who does that, you might think? Well, the late, great Napoleon Billou, for one. And why would he do such a thing? Well, first and foremost, he was a devout Christian. He believed he'd been blessed by God, and it was his duty to share those blessings with others. But secondly, he did it because he could. He was successful. He was an entrepreneur. That's why I wanted to become an entrepreneur. I wanted people to look at me the way they looked at my dad. I wanted to be a champion for human beings. And I tell you something, when my late father passed away, he passed the torch of believing in people to me. And this is what he was all about. He said, son, life is about people. You need to love people. You need to believe in people. Every human being needs someone to believe in them. There are moments where their belief in themselves wobbles, but if they've got someone in their corner who believes in them, they'll steady the ship. And this is my greatest superpower, Cliff. I love people. I believe in people. I pour into people. In the moments when people have lost faith in themselves, I keep my belief going until that spark of belief turns into a roaring fire and they are able to make their dreams come alive in their heart and soul and go achieve them. That is who I am. That is what I'm all about. I am my father's son, carrying forward the Billou torch.
God bless you. We are on the same page. I tell you, I'm like you. I believe more in people than they believe in themselves. And I tell you, I love your message. I'm also a devout Christian. And I'm thinking, let me know your thoughts on this. And that was just wonderfully said, by the way. And I love Toronto. I'm originally from upstate New York, Rochester. We used to take trips over there to Yonge Street back in the 80s, 70s, actually.
I mean, being based over here in the UK, as we are part of Europe, I do sometimes get the whole Canadian American thing slightly confused. I mean, it starts with the accent, and then I guess some of the politics, the culture, and a few other things. I more often confuse Canadians for being Americans than I guess the other way around. But you are bordering one another. Like, I suppose the example is, Great Britain is made up of 3 separate countries, 4 if you include Ireland, and we're bordering Wales as well as bordering Scotland. So some may get the Welsh and the English, if you're not from these parts, a bit confused. The Scottish, less likely to have any confusion there because the accent is so extremely different. Anyway, I will continue on with this Cliff Yates and Nicky Billou interview.
But what's your thoughts on this, man? I just think the more I've been into the Word the last 5-6 years, I mean, we've got to bring God back to America. We got to get it plugged back in. Do you agree?
1000%, brother. It's people turning away from God that has turned us into Sodom in North America. And if we're not careful, America will fall. The average lifespan of a democracy is about 250 years. And we are 2
Another thing that's quite funny is a lot of what they're discussing in this interview really chimes in with where I found myself with this channel or this part of CornerSpeak, because I do have the music platform. My background and origin, which I've mentioned on a few occasions, is based in music. So I do have the music platform, which is more performance based and music related subjects. We have CornerSpeak 360, which is kind of conversational based, kind of on the more creative front. And as it so happens, CornerSpeak, which I kind of started as a catch-all channel, pretty much has largely focused on, I'd say, breaking news stories with a political leaning. And for whatever reason, probably because the subjects affect us all over the world, I've tended to follow American politics. And I spoke about this once in the past, the fact that I find it quite entertaining and interesting in comparison to how our European politics are presented. And more than the sort of superficial cosmetic aspect of the whole thing, I've always believed that what happens in the States tends to arrive over here on our shores at some point in time. And there's even that saying that if America coughs, we catch a cold, or if America sneezes, we catch a cold, something along those lines. So they talk about the close relationship, going back to pre-war, Second World War. You go further back to when the USA was sort of I don't want to say vassal state to the UK, but there was that sort of a relationship. It was part of the British colony until, obviously independence, and a different relationship was formed. And history is still writing its story in that respect. So, yeah, the interest in American politics and how it's kind of landed as being a sort of central part of the stories I cover on this channel is purely coincidental. And maybe it's got a lot to do with me following what's been going on with Donald Trump leading up to the elections, and, interest sort of peaking when he got shot in his ear. I was coming back from a gig, I remember that morning, and only about one or two networks had covered the story. And about 3-4 hours later, it was confirmed, and we all know what happened after that. You couldn't find a more breaking news story. So I've kind of tended to follow the ebb and throw of what's going on with Donald Trump, and kind of led me into the whole political realm, which I actually learned from covering these stories. Of course, what's left in the comments. There's many who are more knowledgeable than myself, particularly those of you who are based in the States, and then some stories that have been breaking over here. Starmer going over to the Oval Office, and so there's a balancing act, and it just so happens that I've tended to base that seesawing way of movement on CornerSpeak and on the CornerSpeak platform. Although over time, you know, bear with me and don't get too put off if I occasionally wander into slightly different territories and wander back. Because ideally, I would like CornerSpeak to be a catch-all channel for anything culturally interesting, politically relevant, or just something that will be beneficial as news and knowledge to viewers like myself who spend a fair amount of time on social media and YouTube getting and gathering our information. So for now, I'm gonna check in again on this story or this interview, I mean. And if we're not able to get our distinguished guest, Mr. Nicky Billou, onto the show today, I'm confident that we'll be able to reschedule it for another date in time, because he's definitely somebody that can bring a lot of fruitful information and knowledge about business, entrepreneurship, politics, culture, and just some of what's going on on the globe, things we all experience and witness in this day and age. So back to the interview.
Years away from the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. So think about that. We've got one shot at this. One shot at this. If you are an American today, the 2024 election is your last shot at preserving the ideals of America, at preserving freedom. Because if the 2024 election sees the forces of darkness, the forces of illegitimacy, the ones who stole the last election, the ones who deny God every single day, the ones who take his believers and jail them and imprison them for the crime of worshiping God, if they are allowed to continue, it's all over in America. And if America is where freedom falls, freedom will fall all across the globe, and we will enter 1,000 years of darkness.
You are going to, I think you today, for me, even just alone, you're going to, I think, hone my mission based on what you're saying today. I really believe that. You know, I was never, when did you come to Toronto? When did you come from Iran?
1982.
1982, okay, yeah. I really wasn't, I guess when you're born here, right, you can become apathetic. You think this is the way it is. And if you haven't, my audience knows, Chris, my wife was born in Cuba, and her lovely father, who never went a day without wearing the American flag on some part of his body. And he gave up everything, signed it all over to come to this great country. And so she awakened in me, and so did he. Man, I should be doing more to be more patriotic. That kind of slapped me in the face of being aware of how thankful we should be, because, of course, he saw the opportunities and gave up everything for his family, as I see you have. And so I see more second generation people are saying, no, we've got to fight for this. Do you realize I've had these opportunities and we're not going to let that go, right?
My brother, without freedom in America, the whole history of humanity is going to take a sharp turn for the worse. In the Bible, in the book of Revelations, they talk about end times, and I often wonder, are we in end time?
Yes. Yeah, there's a pastor that I follow, Jack Hibbs. You probably know Jack Hibbs. Jack Hibbs, he recently went to, he gave the prayer in Congress. Mike Johnson hired him to do that. And he was attacked because he said he opened the prayer with "Our Father in heaven," of course, and attributing a gender to God. He was attacked by that. And so he's been attacked after that message, you know, but he's a big time. He just says that how alive the Bible is today about what is happening, the prophecy that is happening, and how that word is relating to right now. And I think you're probably on the same page with that.
Amen, Brother Cliff. Amen.
Yeah. So I forgot where I was gonna go with that, but oh yeah, boy, you're not the only person who's kind of told me. I want to say over 30, 40 times that I've talked to people. It's been, this election is an either or kind of thing. And I was surprised. Go ahead, Nicky.
This is it.
Yeah.
Either you vote out the devil and the forces of the devil.
Correct. Yeah.
Or you're going to see freedom in America disappear. And Ronald Reagan once said that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for. It must be nurtured. It's not passed to our children down in the bloodstream. And I would say to you that right now, freedom is months away from extinction.
Yeah.
Months.
Man, because I just wonder, you know, I grew up, and maybe you were at, 82. So when I was growing up, 70s, born in 57. So we didn't talk about politics. You know, you got the news at 6 o'clock at night. There's only 3 channels. And, but, you know, I was brought up in a principled home. My dad was a Marine. And so we had right and wrong and kind of, you know, great family, you know, Judeo-Christian principles for sure, even though I wasn't brought up in the church. But we really didn't talk about politics, you know, for the longest time. And then my wife and I, you know, we kind of put ourselves out there because we're positive people. And all we were doing was we went to the inauguration in 2016, you know, and of course we showed pictures of ourselves in Washington at the inauguration celebrating. And so we have a summer place in upstate New York. You're going to know the Thousand Islands. Lake Ontario dumps into it. And so we had an island community. And then all of a sudden, you know, people were ghosting us. You know, we weren't invited over anymore. People that we had helped and we were good friends with. And I talked to some people and I go, geez, I hope it's not any political thing because we don't even talk about it when we get together. And somebody told me, oh, no, it is. I just can't believe that, you know, people would do. Yeah, I know. I still, it was just, let me tell you, it was, to me, it was a little bit hurtful. I don't know, because just.
Excuse me. So I think we are going to move the one-to-one with Nicky Billou to another date and time when I can pin him down, and hopefully he'll be available to come and share his message and his vast reservoir of knowledge with our CornerSpeak viewers and myself, because there is much I can learn from somebody with his view on politics, culture, business, and many more things. I'm gonna watch a bit more of this Cliff Yates one-to-one with yous, and then we'll pause this live stream and take it up again at another point in time, as we often do things in a real time here at CornerSpeak, unscripted, sometimes improvised, and above all, in the moment. So, yes, continue on.
You know, I didn't judge people that way, but they judged us that way, and it was just kind of crazy. Did you experience any of that on your, you know, because you stand?
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the truth, man. We're in a cold civil war right now.
Right. Well, I agree.
And you're either on the side of the angels or you're on the side of the devils. There's no standing on the sidelines. And the people that don't believe in freedom, in good, in might and right, many of them are ready to throw you under the bus. And I can be friends with someone who disagrees with me. But
me too.
I'm not
yeah.
be friends with somebody who is an out and out leftist, out to destroy freedom. I'm not going to be friends with the cancel culture types. And, you know, it's my belief that it's my duty right now to stand up for what's right.
That's what I think. Duty. Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do.
And how do this is my question. You're going to help me today, because my whole, and I love what you're saying, man. I didn't even anticipate this, Nicky. Because my whole thing is, you know, personal growth. I've been into motivation and entrepreneurship, even though, you know, I was a cop and I got introduced to these, I got a real estate license, and I got introduced to Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins. And then I began to do things, and I dropped my, you know, limitations and just became a champion for, you know, unlimited belief. And of course, in this country, we can do that. But more and more, I'm just thinking, God, I just think more and more my duty is to stand up for the fight that we have that's going on with the good versus evil. And so how do you stay on the personal growth path at the same time taking up the sword of righteousness of what we need to defend?
Well, brother, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing your show, but talk about these topics as well.
Okay.
There's a big podcaster named Patrick Bet-David. He has a channel called
PBD. No, I never miss it. We never miss it every day, the live show. Yeah.
3 years. That's what he's done the last 2 or 3 years. He still puts out a lot of content to help people be successful. He still does programs. He's got a conference he does once a year. I'm going to attend this conference this year.
Oh, are you? Great. So, yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be great. But, you know, at the same time, he also is putting out content that is all about supporting the the message of freedom,
Yeah.
and he's not going to stop. He's building himself a whole media empire around that. I think you can do something similar. You know, you got the Cliff Yates show. You could have small shorts that you do on success and positivity and winning, and then you could have conversations that you have with people around the subject of freedom. You could be doing all kinds of things. There's no reason. The two messages go hand in hand.
Boy, you're
the
right.
message of
Yeah.
freedom and the message of hope, optimism, entrepreneurship, success, making money, they go hand in hand. It's the message of darkness that goes with the message of victimhood and defeatism.
Boy, you're so right. Well, I'm glad you watch PBD, man. We watch it. My wife and I watch him every day. I mean, we just, with the amount of the type of guests that he has on, you know, he has that great mix. You know, Vinny, who was, you know, I was a comedian for over 25 years, cop by day, comedian by night. So Vinny on his staff, he was a comedian, you know, and he moved from California like we did in 2020. And he's got Adam on there, but also Tom that he has on, who's the financial guy. And I just learned, learning markets and what's going on. I mean, he provides such a service. Sometimes my buddy will send me shorts on the show. I go, listen, brother, I listen to the whole 2-hour show, so I don't need your short because I listen to the whole thing. He's just amazing. And it seems like you're on the same message too, brother. And I'm so happy to really join with people who are, to have this voice and who come with, and like you do. I just, you know, because the Bible.
So there's quite a bit of the interview discussion talk about halfway through. You can obviously find this on YouTube if you look up Cliff Yates, Nicky Billou interview. For now, apologize to any of our viewers if you are looking forward to tuning in and getting as well, not in person, but, you know, remote perspective, and getting to hear some of Nicky Billou himself, passing on his message and sharing some of his knowledge with all of us. We will hopefully do this another day. So I'm going to lock off the stream for now, and going to be back on shortly today, either with a reaction to something that's current in today's news, or maybe back with another guest. In this case, as it's not pre-set up, it will probably likely to be what I'll describe as a surprise guest. So for now, as I always normally say when I wrap up these shows, for me, Onyu over here in the UK, at CornerSpeak, be good, be safe, be creative if you can. For now, I'm out.